Chapter 19. The Face No One Suspected. But neither of them knew. The hardest chapter of their story had only just begun. Smoke still drifted through the executive floor. Emergency crews secured the damaged corridors. The captured intruder, Michael Reeves, sat quietly inside Sterling Group's secure conference room. His hands were restrained, yet he looked remarkably calm, almost amused. Julian entered first. Victor followed. Solene closed the door behind them. For several seconds, no one spoke. Finally, Julian broke the silence. "You lost." Michael smiled. "No, you stopped one team." Julian placed the Foundation ledger on the table. "No, we stopped your future." Michael laughed. "The ledger. You still think that's what matters?" His confidence unsettled everyone. Victor leaned forward. "Talk." Michael slowly shook his head. "I don't answer to you. I answer to the person who built all of this." Julian frowned. "Richard Sterling is dead." Michael smiled again. "I wasn't talking about Richard." Silence. Victor opened the ledger. "We've already traced your accounts." Michael barely glanced at it. "Good. You found the map." Julian narrowed his eyes. "The map?" Michael nodded. "But you've mistaken it for the destination." Before anyone could ask another question, Solene quietly turned another page. She wasn't reading the names, she was studying the handwriting. Every page, every signature, every correction. Then she stopped. Her breathing slowed. Julian noticed. "What is it?" She gently ran her fingers across one line. "This page." Victor looked closer. "What about it?" She pointed to a tiny correction made in blue ink. It wasn't written by the same person. Michael's smile disappeared. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. Solene continued turning pages, slowly, methodically. She found another correction, then another. Always the same blue ink, always the same handwriting. She closed the ledger. The Foundation had 2 record keepers. Victor frowned. Meaning? The first one built it. The second one inherited it. Julian looked at Michael. "So who's the second?" Michael remained silent. Solene walked toward the whiteboard. She wrote every name they had uncovered. Andrew Collins, Marcus Whitfield, Michael Reeves. Government officials, shell companies, bank executives. Then she stepped back. "No." Julian looked confused. "What?" "We've been asking the wrong question." Victor folded his arms. "What should we be asking?" She drew a circle around every person who had disappeared, every whistleblower, every investigator, every witness. Then she drew another circle around every survivor. Only one name appeared in both circles. Julian slowly looked up. His expression changed. "No, it can't be." At that exact moment, the boardroom door opened. No one had knocked. No one had announced the visitor. An elderly woman entered quietly. She wore a simple gray suit. No jewelry, no title, only a visitor's badge. The receptionist had walked past her without a second glance. Julian stood immediately. "You?" Michael lowered his head. Not in fear, in respect. The woman smiled gently. "I've been waiting a very long time to meet you, Solene." The room became completely silent. She turned toward Julian. "You've inherited Richard's courage." Then she looked back at Solene.
And you've inherited something far more dangerous, the truth. She slowly removed the visitor's badge, placed it on the table. Underneath it was another badge, old, worn, faded. It carried a single silver compass. The foundation. She smiled. My name is Eleanor Ashcroft, and I founded the foundation. No one moved. No one breathed. Even Michael remained silent, because everyone in the room understood the same terrifying truth. The woman standing before them had never hidden. She had simply spent 20 years convincing the world she didn't exist.
Chapter 20. The signature that changed everything. But neither of them knew this would be the final chapter of their story. The boardroom looked exactly as it had 20 weeks earlier. The polished table, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the leather chairs arranged with perfect precision. It was the same room where everything had begun, the room where a janitor had spoken 5 words. Don't sign that.
You know, you still haven't asked me on a proper date. Julian laughed. I was hoping you'd say yes before I asked. She squeezed his hand. I'm saying yes. The city skyline glowed behind them as they stood side by side. Not billionaire and janitor. Not CEO and investigator.
Just Julian and Solene, two people who had chosen truth, and, in choosing truth, had found each other. 6 months later, the same boardroom welcomed a new generation of employees. A young graduate nervously asked the orientation group, "Is it true a janitor once saved this company?"
An older employee smiled. No. He looked towards Solene's office. She was never just a janitor. Some stories begin with a signal was less than £50,000. 6 months later, the 4 months began. This was one of those stories.